we borrow from a passage inspired by the healing power of nature. In the midst of the bustling modern world, we often forget the profound healing capacity that lies within nature. From the gentle rustle of leaves to the soothing sound of running water, nature has a way of enveloping us in its embrace and revitalizing our weary souls. It offers a respite from the noise and chaos, inviting us to slow down, breathe, and reconnect. Nature's bounty extends beyond its awe-inspiring landscapes and tranquil beauty. Within its embrace, we discover an abundance of superfruits and plants that possess remarkable healing properties. These gifts from nature have been revered for centuries by ancient civilizations and traditional healing practices, and their benefits continue to amaze us today. These fruits and plants remind us that the earth, in its infinite wisdom, has provided us with everything we need for vibrant health and vitality. By embracing these gifts and incorporating them into our lives, we tap into the profound healing power of nature itself. Dr. Trust Pfukwa, originally from Mutare, Zimbabwe, is the fourth born in a family of 6. He did his education in Mutare before moving to Harare for his tertiary studies. After graduation, he worked as a production supervisor for Simbisa Brands Bulawayo office for 5 years until he was laid off. He moved to South Africa in 2016 to study food science at Stellenbosch University, where 2 of his siblings, as well as sister-in-law, have also graduated from with PhDs. In his research, Dr. Trust Pfukwa focuses on phytochemistry, fruit product valorisation, and meat science. Utamu Foods was started by Dr. Pfukwa while completing his doctoral research. The name Utamu is a Swahili word that means sweetness. It is therefore the mission of Utamu Foods to harness unique flavors and nutritional value from indigenous South African fruits into quality and healthful consumer products. Indigenous South African fruits also offer an opportunity to tap into climate-smart, environmentally sustainable food sources, which is important for more resilient, secure, and sustainable food supply. At its heart, Utamu Foods seeks to ignite in every tea lover a deeper understanding and ultimately appreciation of local flavors while encouraging healthy living. The company invites customers to experience the unique flavors and aromas of local fruits long cherished by our forefathers. Utamu Foods' one-of-a-kind honeybush tea blends ultimately serve you the taste of Africa in a cup. This is my entrepreneurship journey. I'm Pfukwa Machele, and welcome. Dr. Trust, welcome to the Mesh podcast, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Ndefo. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to our discussion.
So, just a little bit of introduction, so we get to know the man behind the tea. I know you grew up in Zimbabwe. And how was it like growing up in Zimbabwe? What was your childhood like? Your teenage years like?
Growing up in Zimbabwe was great. It was amazing. A lot of experiences there. I grew up in a family of 6. We are 4 boys and 2 girls. So yeah, my mom, she made sure that there were no sacred cows in terms of chores and everything. So she made sure we learned how to cook, how to clean, and we would go to the fields to do work. So she made sure that we were constantly occupied with meaningful tasks. I think that groomed me as a person to always be making sure that I do the necessary work which is needed, and also making sure that I'm efficient in my tasks and committing myself to the work which I need to do.
Yeah.
So we would play here and there. I didn't do much sport. I think at school I mostly did it was quiz which I did. So I would just play sport here and there with some friends, but nothing competitive, regrettably, because I think in my later years now, that's when I see, oh, I should have played sport. It would
Yeah.
have, I think, taught me a few lessons. Not a few, but I think it would have taught me some good lessons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what was basically my childhood, and um, a lot of camaraderie amongst us as siblings in terms of helping each other, looking out for each other. They've taught me a lot, and I am here because of them as well. No one gets left behind, and all those sorts of things. So it was very, very helpful for me, and I cherish the experience. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I know you say you would do house chores. Your mom would send you out in the fields to work there and to help out and everything. You know,
Yeah.
the Food and Agriculture Organization tells us that agriculture is the backbone of Zimbabwe's economy. In fact, it goes on to say it constitutes about 17% of the GDP. Could you
Yes.
say, growing up in this environment and your activities as a when you were young somehow contributed to your decision to now in your adult life study food science?
Um, to a great extent, it was something else. It was rather a bit fortuitous that I ended up in food science. Because the education system in Zimbabwe, you have to qualify for certain programs.
Okay.
When you are Form 6, what you would say maybe grade 13, you write your final exams and then you get points. So the maximum, if you're taking the mandatory three programs which you are supposed to take, let's say I took mathematics, biology, and chemistry. The maximum points you can get there is 15. So with 15 points, you get to qualify for any sort of program you want, and the highest amongst those can be, say, for example, medicine. Say
Okay.
in this field which I took. So with lesser points, you qualify for other programs. And then so with the points which I got, which was like 9, I would qualify. I couldn't qualify now for the higher up programs, but I could only qualify for food science. My brother was already at UZ. He's a brilliant chemist with Stellenbosch University. So
Okay.
he was the one who was like, okay, I think with the points which you have, it would be great to do something like food science. It's highly applicable. It's in demand, and you get to learn a lot. And you're great in chemistry and biology as well.
Yeah.
So it's a shoe in. It would be something which you could fit in very well. So I was like, okay, let me try that and see. So it was rather fortuitous, and we as I proceeded now, I now saw that, oh, you know what, I can use some of the skills which I'm learning here to actually develop in terms of my approach to agriculture, because it's one thing to say that we are producing in terms of the work which is done by the farmers, but then the farmers, all the things which they are producing, let's say if you are producing tomatoes, they need to be a channel in which we add value. You understand? So even with the program which they did, like say land reform, it had to be met with a more robust system of value addition to be able to complement the robust system of land reform. So if you have land reform on its own without a robust system of value addition, the whole thing, I feel it falls flat. So I feel for me now, with the skills which I have, it's something which I can now try to develop, and make sure that we are approaching this thing from a holistic point of view. We just don't have land form for the sake of just land form, but to also meet it with a vast system of value addition. That's when you now start to realize the money, the real money. Because just imagine, for example, when you have coffee or cocoa, the farmers in, say, in Ivory Coast or Ghana don't get as much as the people who are in the higher parts of the value addition chain, which is where
Right.
you are supposed to position yourself. That's where you get more money, more jobs, more skills. Everything gets lifted higher. The value chains develop more, and everyone gets to benefit. The money which is involved in coffee, for example, is a lot. So I feel like when we develop that, and for me as a food scientist, it's an area which I think as Africa we need to develop more in capacitating our people in that way, so that we are able now to harness the value which we need to realize. It's one thing just saying, oh, we are the highest producer of cocoa, but
Yeah.
you are not earning as much as you should, and it's sad when you look at it, and when you look at the amount of money which can be realized from actually just sitting back and positioning yourself higher up in the value addition chain, which I think my background in food science has allowed me to sit back and see how I can position myself.
And of course, now I would say, after listening to what you've just said, now this is how now the idea stemmed to start Utamu Tea. Am I right?
Yes, certainly. Because while I was doing my PhD, I was working on indigenous underutilized foods. So I feel like it's not enough. It's good that people are going there and actually finding out the information which is needed to add value to these foods. But then after that, then now we must do something. And it's either after finding that information, it's either we must take action or someone else is going to. So before we have another coffee situation, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and do this thing and see where it takes me and see where I can add value. Because the whole research was centered on making sure that we understand the composition, we understand the bioactivity of the certain elements which we find in there, and what they can be useful for. So after that information, now you can be able now to say, okay, I can use this ingredient for this way, in that way, in that way. You could say, for example, right now with the value chains which are being created for rooibos or honeybush, you find now rooibos in a lot more things. You find it in lotions, you find it in soaps, you find it in face cleansers, a whole
Yes.
bunch of cosmetics, and also as a tea. You find it as an extract for nutraceuticals and all those things. So it's a whole value chain where a lot of people benefit. And if we are harnessing that, then it means a lot of people are going to be involved. Then that means we are now creating value within the chain. We are capacitating people, we're creating jobs, and everyone is benefiting.
So basically, what you're saying is, it's beautiful. We do all this research. I mean, we publish, and then what? You know, we leave it at
Exactly.
that. Yeah, but then you thought, okay, this is the research I've done. I've contributed,
Mm.
yes, to the body of
Yeah.
knowledge. Good.
Mm.
I've published, good, and then what? You leave it at that. You've published, and go and get involved in another project, or you thought, how do I create value? How do I bring this out to the people and enterprise? That is
Exactly.
brilliant. Yeah, it's
So,
another way of
because
thinking. Yeah.
definitely, because what we had with our food science program at Stellenbosch University was very great, especially in the fourth year, because now you take all the stuff which you have studied and then you marry it in certain projects, let's say product development. They have this very beautiful program for product development where you sit down in groups, you crunch certain ideas, you formulate a product which you think can be good for the market after you have after you have checked a few trends, because you have to check a few trends. What are consumers looking for? What do they want right now? What do they value? Then now you address those things now in a particular product. So now you sit down, work out a product. Okay, we think this product can work well in this way. It's giving the nutrients which the consumers are looking for. It's offering the taste profile which the consumers are looking for.
Right.
It has the appeal which the consumers are looking for. It has the convenience which the consumers are looking for. And then now you take that forward now in terms of the ingredients which you look for, composition, you taste it, you go through sensory, a whole bunch of things. So I think that now allowed me to have the experience now to be able to sit down and look at gaps in the market where I could now say, okay, I think I can position these fruits in this way, and be able to approach it systematically in that way. So I think once I had that knowledge, now I was able to translate it into something which we can be able to take to the market.
Namely Utamu tea. And why the name Utamu? Why did you choose that? What does it mean?
Utamu is a Swahili word for sweetness. Since we are dealing with indigenous African foods, some are South African and some stretches far out as Ethiopia and West Africa in the Gambia there. Say
Okay.
if you are looking at baobab, or if you're looking at water pear, or if you're looking at marula, they are widely spread.
Right.
And some, okay, they will be indigenous to South Africa. Let's say if you have sour fig, it's usually endemic to the coastal lands of South Africa in the northwest and in the Western Cape there. So when we're looking at that now, we're trying to bring the sweetness of of these indigenous African fruits to the consumers, also benefiting from the health benefits which these fruits offer. So that's why I opted for Utamu, and the name as well was motivated by some program which I used to watch with my nieces. I used to watch
Okay.
this program called Lion Guard.
Okay.
So my two of my nieces would watch this program like a lot, and then I would get to sit there and also watch with them and just to see what it is about. So they had this other funny song which they used to sing when they when they encounter a particular, they would encounter Mopani worm. So they used to call Mopani worm the sweetest food in the savannah. So they
Okay.
would now sing a song about it, and then rejoicing and celebrating when when the Mopani worm comes into season. So I think for me that just resonated in terms of how we now interpret these indigenous African resources, in how we are, because one of our themes is that we are returning to innocence. So that experience with my nieces, the way they would be happy when they sing that song, and the way in which even the cartoons themselves would be joyous when they encounter that
Yeah.
nutritious food. I was just like, you know what? As we are returning our focus, and as we are putting more emphasis on these indigenous resources, I think I'm just retaining more of that innocence, and uh, making sure that whatever transition happened when people were focusing on westernized foods and dietary approaches, we are returning to innocence now as we are focusing more on indigenous African fruits.
So currently, Dr. Pfukwa, how many fruits or flavors available currently in Utamu tea?
So for Utamu, we currently have three flavors. There's the plain honey bush. There is also the honey bush with sour fig, and then there is the honey bush with water pear. So we have fruit infusions there, which we have put, which are the sour fig and the honey and the water pear. So that constitutes our profile for now. But we are looking to include other uh, fruits as well, which we're still working on, and so that we can increase the product range. But
Yeah.
for now, we have three.
Okay. All right. So your research, which led to this, yielded a knowledge that these fruits are high in antioxidants. They are high in polyphenols. What are those in in plain English, and how do they benefit our bodies?
Okay. So polyphenols are secondary plant metabolites. What we mean by that is that the plant can produce sugars, it can produce carbohydrates, it can produce lipids, which are your primary metabolites. But then now it also produces these secondary metabolites, and polyphenols are one of them. They come about usually in response to stress. Let's say
Okay.
a plant is in a space where there is a lot of sunlight. It will produce this a certain group of polyphenols which are able to relieve the effect of too much sunlight so that it can protect the plant now. Or say the plant has been exposed to a certain pathogen or a certain microorganism which is detrimental to its health. The
Right.
plant now will on its own produce certain polyphenols which can counteract the effect of this pathogen. So the same work which the polyphenols do and all these other plant secondary plant metabolites, the same work which they do in the plant, it can now be also translated into uses which we are now trying to adopt. Because you can also see that in response to, say, stress from oxygen free radicals, the plant can also produce a certain other group of polyphenols or bioactive compounds, which are now able to quench these free radicals and reduce the damage which they cause. The same free radicals which cause damage in plants also cause damage for someone who has diabetes. They also cause damage for someone who has inflammation. They also cause damage for any debilitating illness for some of the debilitating illnesses which you find out there. So now we will be harnessing these natural compounds so that it can be an alternative to other synthetic compounds which you find out there, which the body has difficulty in dealing with and taking out of your body. So it can now be a beneficial way in approaching health and in approaching medication where you now this is why you also have what they would call folk medicine or traditional medicine where you can take a herb when you have an illness and they would say okay, for this herb you can treat this illness. What that herb has is a certain group of bioactive compounds which are able now to get into your system and be able to relieve the oxidative stress and be able now to repair your system and offer a certain homeostasis, a certain balance within your system now, which you see in which is now shown as a form of recovery, where you now recover from that illness. Or say if I have a flu and I make my concoction, what the concoction has is I usually put say ginger, lemon, and garlic.
Yeah.
What is in this what is in these ingredients are the bioactive compounds now, which are able now to go into my system and offer a level of resistance um, to counteract the effect of this virus which I have with this flu virus and offer my cells quicker recovery, quicker responses to the stress which they are getting. So that's what the bioactive compounds offer you now.
I see now. Wow, I've
Yeah.
learned something. So now, hence now, these fruits are found, in the wild areas where nobody's taking care of this plant or this bush, but it produces this fruits, these berries. Maybe it's exposed to the sun. Sometimes not much rain.
Mm,
Sometimes they grow in hilly areas.
mm.
I don't know if so those fruits then are high in this polyphenols because they get to survive in those harsh environments. Ah, okay.
Yeah. So what you would find is that these fruits are, especially in Africa here, they are used to the environment and the climate and the
Right.
conditions in terms of the soil composition and rainfall patterns and
Yeah.
sunlight intensity and pH of the soil. They are used to
Right.
that. So based on the information which they are getting from the environment, they produce certain compounds which are now within the plants, and we benefit from them when we consume the fruits now. So you'll find that right now, what's happening with some of these fruits which you're getting is that people are using these trees as a form of what they call uh, xeriscaping, where they use these trees or these shrubs which are indigenous to landscape, because they take less water than the usual plants, and they are staying green all year round, which means they are easy to maintain. So if you
Yeah.
want sustainability, you are now opting for those indigenous trees, indigenous shrubs to landscape with. So the same shrubs which they are using are also producing fruit. So if we have the knowledge that these fruits use less water and less they are less needy in terms of upkeep, and then can also produce food. We can also tap into that now as a form of climate smart and more resilient food sources in the light of climate change. Because with climate change comes a lot of stresses in terms of guaranteeing food security, producing food, basic food. So when you have now these more uh, resilient food sources, it's an opportunity now to infuse sustainability and have some sort of agro biodiversity in there, which you can now take advantage of and make sure that there is food security for people, which is a very important thing in the light of climate change. So for Africa, it's an opportunity for us to look towards these indigenous plants and indigenous fruits as a means to guarantee food security in the light of climate change. Because climate change is a real thing; it's threatening a lot of things. We have to rethink everything which we have to do, and that means if we have a resilient food source which is out there, we need to tap into it so that we use less water, we guarantee food security, and also they are nutritious, and we
Yeah.
offer now also nutritional security. So that offers us now an opportunity to sustain livelihoods, to make sure that people have can go further, can do better in the face of the challenges which we are currently facing.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you harvest this wild fruits, to obtain them and get them to your, I don't know, your lab or your production plant? How do you do it?
So we have a team of guys who are working with, because our main goal is to make sure that we integrate a lot of people, especially from marginalized areas, because you're dealing with fruits which are indigenous to Africa. Our main purpose is that they benefit everyone, and in terms of also uplifting people from marginalized areas. So we have a team of people we are working with, who we recruited from Kaya Mandi, because I'm in Stellenbosch right now.
Okay.
So we recruited a team from Kaya Mandi who we are working
Yeah.
with. So we now seek permission, like I said earlier, we are taking these fruits from where people are using them for landscaping. So we ask for permission to get in there, and then we go there and we are able now to collect them. For now, we are able to use just the fruits, because you have to be careful in terms of these resources that you can take parts which are able to regenerate. It will be detrimental to take either the roots or the bark or something which might prove detrimental to the sustainability of the whole thing. So we use the fruits, and then so we harvest that, and then we now are able now to process it. So we've also integrated this team into the processing, so that we train them and they are able to realize the value of these trees now. And that can translate into people now knowing that, okay, these are resources which we need to nurture, which we need to protect and everything. So
Yeah.
the point which I had mentioned earlier about coffee and how we need to capacitate people in terms of making sure that they are part of the value addition of these resources. We are also on our small part making sure that we do that slowly but surely, and making sure, because right now we are also in making efforts to identify certain areas either in Limpopo or in Mpumalanga where we can be able to have partnerships with communities where these fruits grow, and they can now participate in the value addition process where they can harvest, dry, pre-process, and we are now able to make the products which we are making.
Oh, interesting. So now, Dr. Pfukwa, your initial study, when you started this, were you still then in the middle of your PhD studies at Stellenbosch University? The reason I'm asking this question, I would like to find out, how does it work now that you did your research and decided to act on it, and now you have this finished product. Is now this product the intellectual property issues, how do we work around that if one had initially conducted their research while in the middle of their studies? How does it work?
Okay. So for my primary study, I was looking at harnessing these bioactive compounds as a source of um, antioxidant preservatives, which you can use for processed meats. So that was my primary focus in my PhD studies. So if I were to go in that route, then I would have to partner with the university now. And they have a brilliant facility which they have of the launch lab and other facilities where you can now go and they make sure that you approach this from a very systematic way, where you sit down and ideate and crunch the numbers in terms of how you're approaching the market, what you need, who you talk to, how you package your product, and all those things. So now the university will act as a partner for that project because it's emanating directly from your research.
Okay.
But for this one now, it was something else because I was now looking at flavors and how we can use that and some of the accompanying health benefits, how we can use that for value addition. So I had the benefit that when I was younger, we used to, when we were playing with my friends and stuff in the bundus there, we would go around and consume some of these fruits. So I was familiar with some of these fruits. Some of them which were new to me, I was able to now also integrate them. So since I was familiar with these fruits, I already knew my way around, and I was able to now say, okay, with the knowledge which I have, let me just now do my own thing on the side and be able to see how I can translate that into a product. So with the knowledge which I had already learned earlier, I was able to go after hours on my own and be able, when I get home, to do my product development, sit down, work around, have my partner, Dr. Kiana Marima, and make a variety of products which we were making that time and testing out. And once one which we found worked, we were able now to take that forward and see what we can do. So for that part now, the university doesn't come in. It was my own IP and my own project which I was able to take forward from what I had learned during my whole study career. So
Yeah.
it's separate from what the university would have to come in and partner with you. But for any other future work, I'm open because I want to position myself at a space where I can be researching and also in industry where there is quick implementation of ideas and translating this. Because you see, with these underutilized indigenous foods, no one really benefits, or their benefit is not translated properly because the chain is broken in the middle. So I want to position myself right there where there is quicker implementation, where there is enough ideas being generated and good enough information to support any claims, to support any ideas, to support any push which you have to make in terms of adding value.
So are you open for investors as well? If there's someone out there listening.
Yeah, definitely. We are open for investors. Like I'm saying, we were looking for communities to partner with, which can now act as a source of these fruits and which we can also empower in terms of the knowledge which it takes to take care of these fruits, to process the fruits, and to also add value in a number of ways. So we are open to that, and we would be glad to if anyone reached out to us and we can sit down and see a way forward.
Interesting. And as you were talking about your, production, R&D, and so forth, I'm sure you are at the forefront of that, while you're busy with that, Dr. Pfukwa, now who handles your business operations, like your marketing, supply chain, sales, and things like that?
Yeah. So I have a team of individuals I work with for this product. I have my partner, Dr. Kiana Marima. She's also part of that. In terms of ideation, in terms of strategy, how we are approaching things, in terms of marketing, how we are doing all those things. And we also have Hilton Chirambadare. He's also a partner in the project. He also comes in terms of operations, how we are approaching certain markets, our message, how it's translated into what we're saying, how we are communicating with consumers and potential markets, and overall picture going forward. What's our message going forward, and what areas can we tap in? And we also have Panashe Mazungunye, who's also there. He's experienced in agro business, so he also works well in terms of crunching numbers and also pushing ideas forward.
Wow, interesting. A whole functioning team behind you. And
When
I've
you get to these levels, you need a team.
Yes. Interesting. I've seen the teas, when the company is advertising on Instagram, Utamu Foods. I've seen the packaging, the boxes. Those look good. They look uncluttered. They look clear. How did you come up with that, with those box designs?
We had a brilliant team which we worked it from agency 911. So they are in Joburg, and it's a brilliant firm to work with. So I gave them ideas. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm looking at in terms of the concept. I'm looking for a return to innocence. I'm looking for something that, because even in our products, we try to focus on minimally adding any synthetics in there. So I'm looking for a clean, natural look. Like I'm saying, a return to innocence. That was our mantra in the beginning. And
Yes.
we are looking to translate that in the packaging as well as in the product. What's in the product should resonate as well in the packaging, so that we communicate that message well. So they captured that very well, and we were able to come up with a variety of designs, and we settled on these ones for our packaging. And thank you so much that it looks well. It's great feedback, because it now allows us to know that, okay, I think we are communicating the message we should want to the
Yeah.
consumers in terms of what we value, what we respect, and what we are looking at going forward.
Yeah. Wow. And so currently, where can we purchase the teas?
You can purchase them. Currently, we are at 3 spots. We are at Real Food Co. They are a brilliant natural food outlet here in Somerset, but they also have an online store. So
Okay.
anyone who can purchase online, they can get them from Real Food Co. It's a very awesome shop. They have very nice food in terms of, they also embody our some of our ideologies in terms of a return to innocence and minimally adding artificial stuff to food. So
Yeah.
we are also so anyone who wants them online, they can go to Real Food Co. We are also at Divarenmarkt here in Stellenbosch. And we also at Stellenbosch University Botanical Gardens. You can also get us there. We're also looking to partner with various other outlets, be it restaurants, be it shops. So if anyone is willing out there, they can reach out to us either via email or they can drop a message on our Instagram handle, which is Utamu_Foods. And then we can talk and see how we can bring the product to the consumers.
And in your entrepreneurial journey, Dr. Pfukwa, what have been major challenges you've been facing or you faced, and how are you how did you work through them, and or what did you do about that situation if you've had some?
Yeah, I think there were a number of challenges. As I was initially like not initially, but since I was an academic, you would just be focusing on your academics, and you're like, okay, I need to get my PhD and go in this way. But then, yeah, I got an aha moment somewhere there, and I have had to
Yeah.
transition my sort of mentality from that to someone who is able to get into spaces where you can do marketing, where you can do product strategy, be strong in this whole thing of product development, and not just maybe focus per se on research and publications, but be able to make sure that I'm communicating the science not only in publications, but also in terms of producing tangible products which are able to resonate with customers, which are able to potentially have an effect in improving livelihoods on in like what we're doing, integrating all these communities and empowering people and making sure that we in the future we have sustainable sources of food. So that has been a challenge, trying to cross that bridge. And I think also in terms of just launching, starting, just that fear of how are people gonna respond, and am I
Yeah.
missing something? You sometimes you always want to be perfect,
Yeah.
especially when sometimes you're a scientist, you want to be like, okay, this is the theory, this is how it's done when I go into the lab, and
Oh,
but it's a
yes.
different ball game when you get into onto the ground. Some things work, you want to know, okay, how is this happening, etc. Some aspects of my scientific work also resonate there, but when you're now on the ground, it's a different ballgame because you're encountering the very people who must use this technology or this product.
Yes.
So you have to be flexible enough, you have to be agile enough, you have to be dynamic enough in your approach. That has been a huge learning curve. And I think having a team really works uh, in and out of academia, because their approaches differ and all their inputs matter. And now you in certain stages you have to have an academic approach so that you are fine with crunching the hard numbers which you want there. And then in some instances you now have to make sure that you have to have that businessy approach that, okay, this is how we're gonna do here. This is how we're gonna approach this marketing strategy. This works, this doesn't. So having a
Yeah.
team helps in that way, in making sure that we have an overall picture to approach and go forward.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, when I've heard this, that as scientists tend to overthink, you want to approach life in that scientific way where everything has to be as it's supposed to be, because you do not want to release a product that is half done, or that is
Yeah,
when you're not convinced yourself, you keep on over and overdoing and over analyzing, and sometimes
yeah,
that can take long, when you
it can
chew
take
on
long.
something for too long. Yeah.
Mm. So it
Yeah.
helps now that you have a team which is in industry, and they know, okay, this is what the consumer wants. This is how we package it. Let's
Okay.
make sure that we maintain that which they want to see. Let's have it. If we have any other additions, then that would be great. It can also offer an advantage and bring us a step higher to achieving our goals. So having that um, like a bit of the best of both worlds. It allows you now to be able to seamlessly transition and navigate your way towards
Yeah.
the goals which you want to achieve. So
Yeah.
you can't be on one or the other entirely. You have to make sure that there is a fine balance between either, so that this shoe comes out nice.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that you mentioned you have to have a team, you have to have a good team
Mm,
that you work with to pick up some of the things that you might not know even, or
exactly.
have oversight on. Yes. But also having a team around you means now you have that, I don't know, you subconsciously, you are responsible for your team. And that can get
Mm,
heavy on someone, especially entrepreneurs. What do you
yeah.
do when you are in that space? It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes you feel a little bit of a slump. Sometimes you feel demotivated, or sometimes you just feel tired, mentally.
Mm.
What do you do when you feel like that, to pick yourself up and remind yourself why you started this journey? When on such days, what do you do to pick yourself up as an entrepreneur?
I think on most days, usually what you find is that something just happens. Something out of the ordinary just happens. Like when you're trying to be like, okay, ish, I'm not getting any traction in terms of reaching out to customers.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit of a bog here. I'm like in a swamp or something. And then from out of the blue, a message comes in of a customer saying, you know what, I bought this tea. My husband has been having some stomach ulcers, but when we bought this tea, the ulcers were now relieved and he's getting better. And it's something which just happens out of the ordinary. Usually when you hit that gray patch and you really don't know whether you're going or you're coming or whatever.
Yeah.
And then things like that now, which is why it's always great to have that feedback, to interact with customers, and also to have the team, because on some days you will require someone to pick up the slack, and then
Yeah.
suddenly they not suddenly, but they are able to come to the fore and take the whole project forward, and to bring an idea which you had not thought about. So it allows you now space to come up for air and dive in again and do some more paddling. So all those things, from the interaction with customers, the messages which you get, how the product is offered a new perspective in terms of approaching tea, and the sort of flavors which you're getting there, and how refreshing they are as opposed to the traditional ones which people are getting. It's things which motivate you to keep going and to keep pushing forward, and having a team which are as good as you are and who embody the product in as much as you do. All of that helps.
Wow. Dr. Fukwa, in closing, what is your favorite book? A book you picked up and you learned so much from it and that helped you in your journey, life journey in general,
Mm.
that you can share with
I
us?
had this other book. It was called Talent is Overrated. It's
Okay.
by Geoff Covey. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right. Talent is overrated. So it just looks at, because like say in certain fields, there are people who you say, yo, Messi is talented.
Yeah.
This guy Cristiano is talented, or LeBron James is talented. You know, but what you don't realize is that they have had to go through a process of deliberate practice. What you mean by deliberate practice is that you are intentional in the way in which you practice. It allows you now to take you have a constant feedback loop. You know that, okay, maybe in my dribble I'm a bit slow, maybe in my acceleration I'm a bit slow, maybe in my passing game I'm a bit slow, maybe in my vision how I see and read the movement of other players, I need to improve. Then you go now and practice. It's repetitive. You do it again and again and again. It's painful, but it informs you, and you get a level higher in doing something better than someone who has just had random practice at something. You understand? So
Yes.
that has allowed me to approach certain tasks with that sort of discipline, to be like, okay, you have to be intentional in the way you do certain things, with the notion that, okay, this is what I want to achieve, and how are we doing it? And then we have that constant feedback loop, and you inform yourself, okay, I have improved here, be it writing, be it even these products which we are doing. You have to be intentional in the way in which you do all those things, so that you excel higher than the other person who is trying to follow. So I think, yeah, that has been a book which has been very helpful in teaching me and translating some of the things which I need to do.
Wow, Dr. Pfukwa, thank you. I can promise you now, this has been very informative. Thank you so much. And I love tea. And I can tell you now, me and my mother are going to try Utamu tea, and we'll give you
That's
feedback.
awesome. That is awesome. We would appreciate your feedback and would love to hear from you and spread the word that we're
Yes,
offering a fresh new approach for tea. We're offering a taste of Africa in a cup, and everyone is welcome to savor.
wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to our show this week. If you enjoy our show and would like to support us, help us by spreading the word. Tell your friends about Mej and engage on social media. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our handle is @Mej Podcast. Mej My Entrepreneurship Journey on LinkedIn. If you would like to engage with us privately, drop us an email at defuo@mejpodcast.com. Remember, we are available and streaming wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Defuo Machele, and you've been listening to My Entrepreneurship Journey. Hey, entrepreneur, are you looking to conquer new markets and unlock unlimited growth potential? We understand that expanding your business in uncharted and unfamiliar territories can be a daunting task filled with complexities. That's where we come in. At Mej Business Consulting, we specialize in providing top-notch business consulting services tailored specifically for entrepreneurs like you. Our team of experts is here to guide you through the intricacies of entering new markets with confidence and success. Picture this, entrepreneur. You have a groundbreaking product or service that has the power to disrupt industries or to just be successful. But how do you navigate the labyrinth of unfamiliar regulations, cultural nuances, and fierce competition? Well, that's our expertise. Our methodology combines a thorough market research, strategic planning, and industry insights. We'll work closely with you to develop a customized roadmap that aligns with your business goals and helps you navigate complexities ahead. So why wait? Unlock your entrepreneurial potential and conquer new markets with our expert guidance. Visit our website at www.mejconsulting.co.za or send us an email at info@mejconsulting.co.za. Mej Business Consulting, empowering your business to reach its full potential. that is something. I remember years back when I started a business on my own, left my formal work employment, and went on to be on my own and follow my dream. It was an e-commerce business. I was selling handbags, importing them from China and selling them here through primarily social media. The business model was working. It was good and beautiful until it wasn't. Then, had I known what I know now, that you do not have to be on your own, you can seek expert advice if you feel stuck or things are no longer going according to how you expected them to, and the business is just, like drowning. For me, I felt lost and I didn't know what to do, and I thought, okay, this is the end of this. It's no longer working. I don't know what to do anymore. Had I known that you can seek business consulting services such as Marriage Business Consulting, what they offer, I think probably it would still be around, or it would be something else today. But I knew about business consulting, but I always thought it's for big business. I didn't know that even for a small business owner, or a starting entrepreneur, if you're unsure about certain things, you can seek advice.